All right, we have just gone through our lesson on doing square root approximations, and now I want you to practice. So the way I want to do this, and you're kind of going to be on the honor system because I want you to try these and then come back to the video and see how and do it with me. So try number one, and then like pause this video, try number one, and then when you're done, or if you get stuck, start the video playing, watch me do number one, and then pause it, try number two. Okay, and I'll remind you as we go through. So this is going to be kind of like a I do, you do, and then you'll get, and that'll be how you're going to practice this. So starting with number one, the square root of 12. So looking at our flow map, determine the two perfect squares that the square root determine the two perfect squares and square roots that the square root of 12 is between. So the square root of 12 is between the square root of 9 and the square root of 16. I'm going to pause right here, pull this paper down, and I want you to put your name on your paper right now, please. Okay? Put your name on your paper. Now, back to the square roots. Square root of 12 is between the square root of 9 and the square root of 16. Okay? So if it is between the square root of 9 and the square root of 16, we're going to come right here and draw us a quick little makeshift number line. It doesn't have to be very long, because we know that if it's between the square root of 9 and the square root of 16, the whole numbers that it's going to fall between are 3 and 4. So our number line doesn't have to be huge. All right, so let's come right here. Okay, so you could draw the number line that way. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that we could do number lines. So we'll do it that way first. The square root of 9 is square root of 16. So the square root of 9 is right here. Square root of 16 is right here, which is going to put our square root of 12 right in here somewhere. Okay? It says take the smallest root as your whole number answer. So our smallest root is that 3. So we know that it's going to be 3 and some fraction. Okay? 3 and some fraction. All right, now, what is the distance from 12, the square root of 12, to the square root of 9? The square root of 12 to the square root of 9 is 3. And I'm just going to draw my bar right there, my little fraction bar. And the distance from 9 to 16 is 7. So 3/7 is my fraction. All right, so let's just come right over here for just a minute and look at how did I find that distance. The distance from 9 to 12. 12 minus 9 is 3. And 16 minus 9 is 7. Sorry. Is 7. 16 minus 9 is 7. So that's how we got that distance right there. This is your number, and so set it up like that right there. And again, there's your fraction. The distance between this, your original root, and the smaller square root, and then the distance from the biggest to the smallest. All right, we can come right over here. I'm going to come right over here and make a note too. I'm going to kind of just draw it this way so that you can see it's kind of an extension of that fraction, all right? It's kind of an extension of that fraction. So what do we have here? We have the original square root minus the smallest of the two square roots, and then the largest minus the smallest. Okay, so you have your original square root minus the smallest, then your largest minus the smallest. And you can see that's how you develop that fraction. I may make that look a little bit better before I put it online, but these are just notes, right? So now we want to change this fraction to a decimal. And because I know that I have on my conversion table somewhere the sevenths, there's 3/7. Still cracks me up that that repeats like it does, but I only need 2, so I'm going with the 0.42. I'm not even going to try to do that division because I've got that conversion table, and I'm going to say that that is 3.42. Okay. And let's go ahead and go out 3 decimal places. 428. So we're going to round, let's round this to 2 decimal. We're going to round this 2 decimal places this time instead of just 1. So this rounds to 3.43. And I'm sorry guys, but we're going to go 3.4 because that's just the easiest way to put it on the number line. We're going to go with 3.4. So it estimates to 3.4. So 3.5 would be right there. 3.4 is going to fall about right here, just to the left of that. This would be about where 3.4 is. So this is about where the square root of 12 would be. I'm just going to highlight that. Just to the left of 3.5. Okay. I want you to pause the video and try number 2. And when you're ready, come back. I'm going to go ahead and work it, but you pause the video and try it and then come back and see how you do. Okay, so you have tried number 2 and now you're ready to see if you got it right. So the square root of 5 is between the square root of 4 and the square root of 9. All right. The square root of 4 is 2 and the square root of 9 is 3. So I'm just going to tell you something, guys. I'm going to make my number line like this. I'm just making me a 2 and a 3 number line because I just need to know that it's going to be between 2 and 3. All right. So now I'm going to go back in my smaller. So this is falling between 2 and 3. This is the square root of 4. This is the square root of 9. The smaller of the 2 roots is my whole number. So here's my whole number. So I know I'm going to have 2 in some fraction. We know that the square root of the square root of 5 is going to fall in here somewhere. Now I need the distance from 5 to 4, which is 1. And the distance between 4 and 9, and you know, there's your fraction. This is 1. 4 and 9 is 5. And we're using absolute value distance. so that we don't have any negatives. So 1/5 and 1/5 as a decimal. If we go to your fraction, 1/5 as a decimal is 0.2. So this is 2.2. We come over here. This would be 2.5. 2.2 is going to be right down here somewhere. So the square root of 5 is going to fall right in there. Okay, pause the video and try number 3. And when you're ready, come back and I will be ready to work number 3 with you. Square root of 74. So you've tried it and now you're back and you want to see how you did. Square root of 74. The square root of 74 is going to fall between the square root of 64 and the square root of 81. So I have the square root of 64 and the square root of 81, and somewhere in between here is the square root of 74. I just keep putting that up too high and I just have all of this. I'm running into stuff. Square root of 64, square root of 81, somewhere in between here is the square root of 74. Okay. So I know that the square root of 64 is 8 and the square root of 81 is 9. So my smallest square root, my smallest root is my whole number. So I'm going to have 8 in some fraction. How far is it from here to here? That would be 10. There's my fraction bar. How far is it from here to here? Not from 8 to 9, from 64 to 81. 64 to 81 is 17. Okay, let's go back and do a quick recap of how I'm doing that. I'm doing 74 minus 64 equals 10. And I'm doing 81 minus 64 equals 17. So there's my fraction, 10/17. That's here's my fraction, 10/17. Now, getting our calculators. Well, before we get the calculator, let's, getting the calculator. We're not even going to worry. We're not going to even think about that long division right now. 10/17. So I want to put this into my calculator and then convert it to a decimal. So I'm going to hit the second key and then the N over D key because that gives me my mixed number. And then 8, arrow over to the right, 10 on the top, arrow down, 17 on the bottom, arrow over to the right, hit my conversion key, enter, and there is my fraction, my decimal. So it is 8.58, which is going to be 8.6 when I round it. All right, so then I'm going to come over here and draw my number line. Here's my 8 and my 9. This is the square root of 64. This is the square root of 81. I know that 8.5 is right there. 8.6 is going to be right there. This is 8.5. This is 8.6. 8.6 would be about right there. So the square root of 74 is going to fall right just past 8.5. Okay. So pause the video, try number 4, and come back and let's see how you do. Welcome back. So let's now the square root of 40. So the square root of 40 is between the square root of 36 and the square root of 49. So the square root of, I'm going to come right here, square root of 36, square root of 49, and the square root of 40 is somewhere in between there. I know that the square root of 36 is 6 and the square root of 49 is 7, which means that I'm going with this smaller one here. So 6 and some fraction is going to be where I'm headed. The distance from 40 and the distance between 40 and 36 is 4. I know that because, I'll move my paper over a little bit. 40 minus 36 equals 4. And the distance between, let's draw my fraction bar, 36 and 49 is 13. Because 49 minus 36 is 13. So my 13's down here. So there's my, and look, we have like 2 or 3 different places. There's my fraction. There's my fraction. But here we're going to put it over here, 6 and 4/13. All right. Come right here to my calculator. Second, N over D. 6, arrow over to the right. 4, arrow down. 13, arrow over to the right. Enter. I didn't mean to do that. Conversion key. And it's 6.30. So this is 6.30, which would be 6.3. Now let's come right here and put it on a number line. We have 6 and 7. We know that 6.5 is going to be halfway in between. 6.3 is going to fall about right there. So this would be about 6.3. This is going to be the square root of 40. This is the square root of 36. This is the square root of 49. All right, pause the video, try number 5. Okay, let's do number 5, and then that's going to be all I'm going to do on this video because you can go back and rewatch these over and over until you get it. But you are going to finish this, so. But I'm going to do number 5, and then you're going to do the ones on the back, and then I will check them. So, the square root of 28 is between the square root of 25 and the square root of 36. Okay, so the square root of 25 and the square root of 36. Now, I hope you are still following along with your flow map if you need it. We know the square root of 25 is 5 and the square root of 36 is 6. We're going to take the smaller of those as our whole number. So we know our answer is going to be 5 with some fraction. So now I have the square root of 25. Square root of 28 falls in here somewhere. Square root of 36. The distance from the square root of 28 to the square root of 25 is 3. Draw my fraction bar here. I know that also because I can say that 28 minus 25 is 3. And then this distance here is 36 minus 25, which is 11. So my fraction is 3/11. take our calculator, second, N over D, 5, 3, 11, conversion, enter, is 5.27, which is 5.3. Now, let's do this one real quick with the long division, just in case you are given an assessment where you cannot have a calculator, okay? So we're going to see, this is 3 divided by 11. So that's 11. 3.0, I'm going to put me some zeros out there. 11 won't go into 3, 11 will go into 30. 2 times, that's 22. I don't have y'all here to tell me if I'm doing it wrong. That'll go 7 times. Okay, and I'm going to stop because I don't really need to know what this number is. I don't need to know what these numbers are. I just need to know those 2 numbers right there so that I can come over here and put them down right there. And so I'm going to stop my division. I'm not going to keep dividing and dividing and dividing and dividing. I don't have to. I don't need to. I just need those 2 numbers so that I can round the way I need to. All right, so I want you to do 6 through 10, and then I will have the key put in Google Classroom for you to look at and check it, okay? Please let me know if you have any questions, and we will answer them.